Hey everyone, this is DJ7 and I'm here with another tutorial video which is going to show you how to mod or edit the audio files for WWE2K14 for the Xbox 360 or the PS3. Now, right from the start, I'm going to tell you, this is not easy. Changing the audio is not a quick and simple little task. It's tedious. You have to be very precise, and until you do it a few times, it's a little difficult to wrap your mind around. But that's why I'm making this video, because I want to help other people learn the process and show you step by step how to accomplish it. Personally, I've been trying to figure out how to change the audio in this game for over a year now, and because WWE2K14 is an older game, it's much harder to find information on how to edit or change certain aspects of the game. Now, thankfully, there are some incredibly helpful and generous modders out there, particularly on the Smack Talks forum, who shared the tools with me and walked me through the process multiple times so that I could learn how to edit the audio. I would be remiss if I didn't give a huge thanks to the users Red Rooster, STL Powercat, and Justin1893 for their patience and their guidance in teaching me how to edit the audio so that I could pass it on to other people. Okay? Alright, I'm done with my Oscar speech. On to the tutorial. First things first, you'll need a few different tools that are necessary for editing the audio in WWE 2K14. And I'm going to include links to download these tools in the description below. First, you'll need a hex editor. A hex editor, HEX. There are plenty of them out there. They're free. I personally like Hex Workshop. I'm going to open that now. That's what that looks like. We'll come back to that later. There's also HXD. For this tutorial, I'll be using Hex Workshop. You also need the program WWise by Audio Kinetic. That's WWise by Audio Kinetic. But you'll need an older version because we're modding an older game. You can't just go to their website and download the latest version. You're going to need WWise version 2015.1.9. That's 2015.1.9. If you use a newer version, it's not going to work. And finally, you'll need a few different spreadsheets that will show you the location and file numbers of the audio files within WWE 2K14. Again, I'm linking all of these things in the description below. All of these tools were shared with me, so I'm happy to share them all with you. Now take a moment to pause this video, download each of these tools, and then come back ready to work. Okay, you got your tools downloaded? Great. Now, before we actually get started, I'm assuming that you understand that modding the audio files, or any files for that matter, in this game can only be done on a modded Xbox 360 or a modded or jailbroken PS3. If you don't have one of those, or you don't even know what those are, you might as well stop watching this video. I'm also assuming that you know how to connect to your console from your PC, either through Xbox 360 Neighborhood or Horizon or whatever. Again, I'm not sure why you'd even watch this video if you don't have or know about those things, but I just wanted to clarify because I'm not taking the time to walk through those things in this video. And one last thing before we get started. You might be thinking, why would I want to edit the audio in WWE 2K14? That's a great question. Here are a few reasons. Number one, perhaps you want to make a custom call name for a wrestler in the game, or a wrestler that you've added. A call name is simply what the wrestler is called when they walk down the ring. With this tutorial, you'll be able to edit call names, team names, championship names, hometowns, even the theme music they walk down to. Now, a second reason you might want to change the audio in the game, perhaps you're really ambitious like me and you want to try to change the commentary, which is something that I'm working on at this very moment. It's really difficult and tedious, but really rewarding when you get it. Again, with this tutorial, if you can hear it in the game, if it is a sound that you can hear in the game, you'll be able to change it. On to the tutorial. Now, this process can be broken down into 3 parts. Number 1, choosing what sound you want to replace, and finding its location. Number 2, creating a custom replacement sound that can be used in the game. And number 3, actually editing the game's sound file and inserting the new sound into the game. We're going to take it slowly, step by step, and do each one of those. Let's look at step 1. Choose what sound you want to replace. Now, for this tutorial, I'm going to change the call name of Eddie Guerrero to Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Now, could that be any more random? Probably not. But my preferred era of wrestling, what I grew up watching, was wrestling in the 80s. And no offense to Eddie Guerrero, God rest his soul, I just don't use him in my game. I do, however, use Paul Orndorff, and I have a mod for him that I want to place in Eddie's spot so that I can hear Howard Finkel call his name when he comes to the ring. So that's what I'll be changing. But again, you can change anything you want. You just have to find the file name of what you want to change. So now that I know what I want to change, how do I find Eddie's file? Well, I pull up my handy spreadsheet that has the locations of all the audio files in the game. Now notice how my spreadsheet says Legends Game Audio. That's because I have the Wrestling Legends mod installed on my Xbox 360. If you don't know what that is, it's only a mod that turns WWE2K14 into the absolute greatest retro wrestling game of all time. Okay, if you don't know what that is, I have some other videos on my channel for you to watch that highlight that game, so please check those out. But if you don't have the Wrestling Legends mod, if you just play the vanilla version of WWE2K14, that's no problem. We have a spreadsheet for that as well, and it lists the locations of call names, hometowns, and everything for the files in that version of the game. So on my spreadsheet here, I've already located Eddie Guerrero's audio files within the game. This first column here contains the file numbers for the Howard Finkel calls. This next column contains the hex numbers for the Howard Finkel calls. And we'll talk about those in a minute. This next column contains the file numbers for the call names done by Justin Roberts. And this next column has those corresponding hex numbers for those files. Now don't pay attention to these file numbers over here to the right. They're simply files that have already been changed in the Wrestling Legends mod. Just ignore those for the time being. Now I want to replace the main call, which is simply his name, Eddie's name, and nothing else. Now as I can see here, the main call file number is 970002031. Okay, that's the file number. Right next to it, in the line next to it, that's what we want to make note of for the time being. That's called the hex number. It actually consists of letters and numbers, but we're going to call it a hex number. Eddie's main call hex number is 39D10E6F. Now, I would recommend writing that down somewhere. Just pull up your notepad and write it down, because we're going to need to come back to that later. And it's just a good idea to keep some notes as we go through here. I've already written mine down there. 39D10E6F. Again, whatever you're replacing is going to be different, but you want to write down the hex number. Okay? All right. We've finished step number 1. On to step number 2. Create a custom sound that can be used in the game. All right, now we're going to make a file to replace Eddie's, but first you need to get a WAV file of whatever it is that you want to put in the game. Now again, I'm not going to teach you how to do that in this tutorial. That's something really easy that you can figure out on your own. If you're looking for a wrestler's name or his hometown or his theme song or whatever, you're going to have to figure that out on your own, and it's really simple. Just get on YouTube or get on the WWE network and capture the audio of whatever it is that you want. There's plenty of tools out there to help you accomplish this. There are websites like YouTube to mp3.com. There's programs like Audacity, which is free. Again, it's really easy to figure out. You just copy the audio of what you want and convert it into a WAV file. That's WAV. Now, once you have your WAV file, and it doesn't need to have extra stuff at the beginning of it or the end of it, just have exactly what you want in the game. Once you have your WAV file, put it on your desktop. Now, here's mine. It's Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff by Howard Finkel. Okay, let's listen to it.
Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Okay, perfect. Howard Finkel saying Paul Orndorff's name. Now, it's a WAV file, but we need to turn it into a WEM file in order for it to work in the game. That's W-E-M, WEM file. And not just any WEM file, but one that is specifically created in WY's version 2015.1.9, which again, you should have already downloaded from the links in the description. So let's open up WY's. I have it here, 2015.1.9. Okay, this window is going to pop up that asks you to start a new project. So you're just going to click New. Okay, now you can enter whatever it is that you want to call your project. I'm just going to call mine Paul Orndorff Call Name. Paul Orndorff Call Name. Now, but before I hit OK, I want you to pay attention to this. See where it says Platforms? And it has Windows here. I want you to highlight Windows and then come over here and hit Remove. Okay? Now, I'm not sure that's totally necessary, but I've just kind of found that removing Windows as an option, it just eliminates the possibility of some errors later on. But we do need a platform, so click Add, and then you'll be able to choose from a list of platforms here. Now again, for the version that we are doing, I have Xbox 360, you may be on PS3, but as you can see, there's some other things here that maybe you can create for other games. But for the purpose of this tutorial, you'll pick either PS3 or Xbox 360. Select it, and then just hit OK. I'm going to click OK here. Okay, now this little license manager screen is going to pop up. Just hit close. We don't need to worry about it. All right, now you'll know you're in good shape if you look up here, and in this upper left-hand corner, it has your platform, either Xbox 360 or PS3. You can also come to Project and select Project Settings, and it'll show you here your platform. Again, you don't have to look in Project Settings, but if you want to just double check. Now we're going to load our WAV file. Okay, so you're going to go to Project, and then you're going to select Import Audio Files. Then we're going to click Add Files. Go to your desktop where you have your WAV file, select it, hit Open. Okay, and then you're just going to hit Import. Great, now it's in the WY's program. To find it, we're going to come over here to the left where it says Actor Mixer Hierarchy. And we're going to look right under Default Work Unit. And there's my WAV file right there. Again, yours might say something different, but that's where it's going to be located. Now we're going to double click that. Great. Now the first thing that we need to do is we need to change the volume. I have found success by putting my volume at 8. So just highlight that, put 8. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come down here to the Contents Editor. And you see these wavy lines in the black box here? We're going to double click that. It's going to open another window, which is the Source Editor. Once we get to this, click on Source Settings on this tab here. Now, this little box over here that says Override Parent, we want to tick that. And And then you see these little arrows, these white arrows in this box. We're going to click on this. And we'll come down here to Factory Conversion Settings. We're going to go to Vorbis and Vorbis Quality High. And select that. Now, after that, we're going to come over to this Edit button right here. Click Edit. Okay, there's our platform again, Xbox 360. Now for channels, we want to put stereo. And then for sample rate, we want that to be 32,000. 32,000. After that, you have to scroll over just a little bit. There's one more edit button here that we want to hit. Select it. We're going to come all the way down here and set our seek table to 4096. 4096. Now just click OK. And finally, we are ready to convert our file. Hit convert. Oh, sorry, one more window here. It just says, do you really want to do that? And we say yes. Now, it just created that. We'll see that it did something there. It turned our WAV file into a WEM file that will be readable in the game. Now, that was kind of tedious, wasn't it? I told you at the beginning of this tutorial, this process is long and detailed, but just hang with me. We're going to get through it. Let's close WWIs. Yeah, I have WWE, WWF on the brain. Let's close WIs and just get it out of the way. We don't need this open anymore right now. We don't. You can save this if you want to. It doesn't really matter right now. Your project is already created, so don't worry about that. But now you have to find where your project is installed. Now that may be a different location depending upon where you installed this version of WWIs. Look for the folder that says WWIs Projects. Mine is right here, WWIs Projects. And here's a list of WEMs that I've created. Here's my Paul Orndorff call name. So I'm going to go here into this folder. Now, see this folder up here that says .cache? That's what you want to look into for your file, .cache. Click on it. Again, yours will say either Xbox 360 or PS3. Get in there. Click into the sound effects folder, and boom, there it is. There's our created WEM file that we just made that's going to work in the game. Take it and drag it to your desktop. Fantastic. Now guess what? You've just finished step 1 and step 2. Now, on to the most challenging part of all, step 3. Editing the game sound file and inserting our newly created file. I mentioned earlier that if you're watching this video, you more than likely have an modded Xbox 360 or a jailbroken PS3. Now, since you fall into that category, you hopefully already know how to connect to your console from your PC. I'm not teaching you how to do that in this tutorial. Figure that out somewhere else. But we need to connect to our console. So for me, I'm going to launch Xbox 360 Neighborhood so that I can get into my Xbox and access the files there. Okay, I go to my hard drive, I go to my games, and then mine again is Wrestling Legends. Yours might say WWE2K14, but the files are in the same location. We want to come to the sound, and this is the file that we want. game_sound_m.pck, or I call it .pack. The gamesoundm.pack file. You want to drag that to your desktop so that we can work on that. Now, for the sake of time, I've already done that. It's about a gig in size, and so it takes a little time. It takes a couple minutes, but I've already done that for the sake of time. I've got it on my desktop. So now when you have it on your desktop, come back to the video. Okay, hopefully you've got it on your desktop now and you are ready to work on it, but before you do anything else, stop. Stop what you're doing right now and make a copy of this file. Make a copy, put it in another folder somewhere on your computer. Call it the backup audio file, call it whatever, but make a backup of it. always, always, always make a backup of any file that you're about to edit, because sometimes stuff happens. And making a backup will definitely save your bacon. It has saved me on more than one occasion. Okay, so we've got a backup now of our GameSoundM.pack file tucked away somewhere. So now we're going to open up our Hex program. Again, my preferred program is Hex Workshop. I'm going to drag my GameSoundM file right into the Hex program. Just drop it in there. So that's the one that we're looking at. And I'm also going to drop my newly created WEM file into there as well. So we'll have both of them here. Okay, if you've never messed around with Hex before, it can look slightly intimidating. All you see are just tons and tons of letters and numbers, and it can be really confusing at first, but don't worry, we're going to take it slow. First, we need to know the size of our GameSoundM.pack file. Now, I told you a minute ago that it's about a gig. It's actually 1.08 gigs, for mine anyways. But even that number doesn't matter. The number that we're looking for is in this jumbled up mess of numbers and letters. Here's how we get to it. At the bottom of our Hex Workshop here, you'll see these two tabs, one for the GameSound file and one from your newly created WEM, whatever you called it. We want to click on the GameSound file. Make sure you click on that. Okay, now once you do that, come over here to the right, grab this cursor, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the very end of the file. Okay, all the way down to the very end of the file. Are you there? Great. Now, I want you to take your cursor and place it after the very last set of zeros, okay? Right after the very last set of zeros, just like I'm doing here. You are now at the end of the file. And if we look over here in the upper right corner, it's going to tell us our size. This is the size for the GameSoundM.pack file. Mine is 44 F2 1D7A. This is the size right here. Let's go back to our notepad and write that down. Whatever your size is, I want you to write that down. Again, mine is this number here, 44 F2 1D7A. Now, I can promise you one thing right now. If you're watching this video and you're trying to follow along with me, I can guarantee you that your file size is totally different than mine. And I'm 99.9% certain of that. I've already edited things in my file multiple times. Again, I might have the Wrestling Legends audio. You might have the WWE2K14 one. It's going to be different. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the number you're writing down is different than mine. It's all still going to work. That is okay. It's not the number that matters. It's the process or the equation that we're about to do that matters. So again, I want you to write down your size. After you do that, I also want you to open up a calculator. Okay, not a normal calculator like the one on your phone. This is called a hex calculator. Now, if you're using Hex Workshop, you can actually come right up here to Tools and select Hex Calculator right there. Now, this will work, but it's kind of small. And I actually like the Windows calculator better. If you are on Windows 10, you can just start typing in Windows Calculator, and it'll pop up this nice calculator right here. Now, what we want to do is there's a few different options that we can choose from. Binary, decimal. We want to choose hex, okay? We want to choose hex. And I want you to enter the size of your GameSoundM.pack file. Again, mine is different than yours, but whatever that number was over here, I want you to enter it. I'm going to enter mine, 44 F21D7A. 44 F21D7A. You enter whatever number you had right there. Make sure you're in hex mode. Enter that right there. Now, whatever your number is, I want you to divide it by 8. Divide it by 8. Yep, that's right. We are doing freaking math for a video game. Can you believe that? Ugh. Listen, don't worry. It'll pay off in the end. Let the calculator do the work for you. Divide by 8. Okay, this is the number that I got. My answer is 89E43AF. Remember, your number is going to be different. That's okay. Whatever your number is, I want you to write it down in your notepad. I've already written mine down earlier. 89E43AF. Whatever your size was divided by 8, write that down. Okay, now stay with me here. Things are going to get a little bit complicated, but I believe in you. You can do it. Before we can add any new sound to our game, we need what's called a valid offset. Okay, offset is kind of another name for size. Actually, really, in this instance, it's more like location. Okay, after we take our game sound m.pack file and divide it by 8, it's this new number that we want to look at. Again, mine is 89E43AF. I need this number to end in either 800 or just 00. Let me say that again. I need this number here to end with either 800 or just 00. Now, don't ask me why. I really don't have a good idea for that. I'm sure there's a great explanation that can be explained by people much smarter than myself. I know that hex is something to do with a 16-digit number, and 8, goes into 16. That doesn't really matter. We just know, I know what works in the game. So we want this number to end in either 800 or just 00. So how do we figure that out? Well, for me, since my file is 89E43AF, look at my last 3 digits. 3AF. 3AF. Well, what comes after 3? These aren't numbers here. What comes after 3? 4. That's right. Good job. 4 comes after 3, so my next valid offset is going to be 89E4400. Okay? Let me change that to capital because that's going to drive me crazy. It's the next closest number to mine that ends with 00. You see what I did? I kind of just rounded up there. I rounded up to make it go to the next highest number that ends in a 00. I know that's kind of tricky. I know that's a little bit confusing, but just take it slow. Whatever your number is, just do some basic math to find the next closest number to make it end in either 00 or 800. Let's pretend, just for kicks, let's pretend that your number is 89E45AB. Okay, let's pretend that this is your number. Now, what do you think you're going to round up here? Remember, it's these last 3 digits that we're focused on. What comes after 5? 6. Okay, so your new valid offset that you round up to is 89E4600. You see? You kind of get the method? I'm trying to go really slow so you can get this. Okay, so again, your number is going to be different than mine, but whatever it is, round it up to the next thing that ends in 00. Write it down in your notepad so you don't lose it, so you can keep an eye on your work. I'm going to take my new valid offset, and let me type that into my calculator here. Again, mine is 89E4400. Again, yours is different. I'm going to enter my new valid offset here, and I'm going to multiply it by 8. When I hit multiply by 8, this is the new number that I get. 44F22000. This, what do we do with this number? Let me tell you. This is what we want to make our GameSoundM.pack file size before we can add our new WEM file to the game. It's basically like we're adding some buffer space to our game sound file, and then we can safely add the new WEM file. So first let's do this. Let's write down whatever your new number is. You can type new size or whatever you want to call it. Mine is 44F22000. Okay? Yours is different, remember that. But this is what mine is going to be. So how do we do this? How do we add space to our file? Well, let's go back to Hex Workshop and look over here. We're at the bottom of our file. Make sure you're on the game side, the Game Sound M file tab. Come down to the very end of the file, and over here you'll see some zeros. I just want you to highlight some, copy them, and we're going to start pasting zeros. Now Control V will give you paste. You can do it another way too, but just start pasting. You can hold it and it'll start going. You see how it's adding space? Now make sure you don't grab any real numbers. You only want to have zeros, okay? I'm going to start adding zeros until I see the values go up. Okay, remember my size was 44F22000. I can tell that I've already passed that because here's 2001. You see that? So I've created enough space, but here's what I need to do. I need to find where 2200 is. How do I do that? I'm looking over here. You see this over here? My cursor is right here. And now this number here matches the size that I needed to get to. 44F22000. Now what do I do with all these other zeros if I added too many? Well, it's easy. Just grab them, highlight them, and cut them out. I hit copy. Cut. Okay. Again, I put my cursor at the very, very end, and now I'm at the right spot. 44F22000. I've just created, this is all empty space because it's zeros, but I've created it at the correct space, where now we can enter our newly created WEM file. Okay, we've done the hard part there. Now we're going to insert our new WEM file into this file. Now here's how we do that. Click back over here to our created WEM file, and what I want you to do is come up here to File, or Edit rather, select all, and then we're going to copy it. Great. Now go back to your game sound file, and you should still be at the end, right there. Your cursor should still be at the end. If it's not, make sure that it is. Okay? Then you're just going to hit paste. Boom. We have just now inserted our newly created WEM file into our game sound file. Okay, now hang on, we're not done yet. Now I have to tell this game sound file to read it. Okay? Now you remember earlier how I wrote down Eddie Guerrero's hex number for his main call right here. Again, your hex number for whatever file you're looking for is going to be different. This is the number that I need for Eddie's main call hex number. I'm going to take this and copy it. Whatever yours is that you wrote down, take yours and copy it. And I need to find it in this file here. I need to find it. So I'm going to come up here to Edit. I'm going to click Find. And I'm going to paste it right here. Now I've already searched for this before, that's why it was already in my window, but put it there, paste it, hit OK. Now it's going to run a search through that whole file, and it's going to find it. You'll know that it's found when you see it highlighted in yellow here. Again, if you're using Hex Workshop. In a different Hex program, it may have a different color, but it should be highlighted. But I've now located Eddie's call name in my game sound M file right there. That's where it is. Whatever your number is, it should find it and locate it right there. Now, if it didn't find it, a couple of things. Maybe you typed it in wrong when we just tried to search for it, or maybe you wrote it down wrong, or maybe you just maybe you entered in the file number instead of the actual hex number. Just go back and double check your work, but hopefully yours came up just like mine did. Okay, so we have our number. What next? Well, we need to enter the size of the new WEM that we've just pasted into the game. Now, do you remember how to get the size of your file? Go back to your file. This is my WEM file that I created for Mr. Wonderful. Go back to yours. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Put your cursor right after the last set of zeros. And this number here is going to be the size of your file. Again, yours is going to be totally different than mine. It doesn't really matter. Go to the end of the file. After the last set of zeros, place your cursor there, and here's your size. I'm going to write mine down so that I don't forget it. My WEM size is 00011D30. 00011D30. That's my file size. Okay, again, yours is different. Write that number down. Now, we actually aren't going to use all these zeros, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Once you've written that number down, let's go back to the game sound file. Now, this ID that we searched for is highlighted. If you'll look at it, if you follow the numbers directly after it, you'll see two sets of zeros. Here's one set, and then it goes to the next line. Here's the second set of zeros. Then you're going to see a 08, and then you're going to see two more sets of zeros, 1, 2, and then put your cursor right after that. That is where we're going to enter our new WEM file size, this number that we just wrote down here. Let me walk you through that again. Here's your ID of the file you're looking for. Go past two sets of zeros, 1, 2, then past a 08, then past two more sets of zeros, 1, 2, and put your cursor right there. That's where we're going to enter the file size of your new WEM that you just copied or pasted into the game. We need to tell it the file size. Mine was 00011D30, but the problem is that's 8 digits, and we only want to enter 6 digits. But if you'll notice, the first 2 digits in my file are zeros. The first 2 digits in mine are zeros, so we're going to leave those out. We're going to leave those out because I think those 2 digits, those 2 zeros are represented right here. Now, I don't know that positive, but I just know that it has worked when I do it that way. So if your file size for your WEM also has zeros at the beginning, you're going to drop 2 of them, okay? And what you're left with is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 digits right here, and obviously there's a letter, but we're calling them digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what we're going to enter right here. After the 2 sets of zeros, after the 8, and after 2 more sets of zeros. So let me enter mine. 0, 1. Make sure I get in the right space. 0, 1. And it was 1D30. You see how it's red? That means we've changed something now in the game. 0, 1, 1D30. 6 digits there. Okay. I've just changed the size of my new WEM file to be reflected in the game. I only have one more thing to do. That is to change the offset, which is really the location. The offset is basically, in other words, when the game triggers a sound, it's saying, hey, look right here. This is where that sound's located in the game sound file. So we have to change the offset. So instead, when Howard Finkel's about to say Eddie Guerrero, we want him to say Paul Orndorff, and when the number we put here is going to have him look over here. So right after the new size that I just entered, I'm going to skip 2 more zeros right here. I'm going to put my cursor right there. I'm going to enter my new offset, which again is only going to be 6 digits. Now, what's my new offset? Where is that? Well, remember we wrote it down earlier. Let me show you. Mine was 89E4400. Remember, I got this number by taking the size of my game sound M file size, dividing it by 8, then rounding up. Getting this number and rounding up. That's how we got it. Okay? If you're confused, go back and watch that part again. But we rounded up so that our new number would end with either 800 or just 00. My number is 89E4400. But again, we're only going to enter 6 digits. A minute ago, we entered the size, but we left off the first 2 zeros. For the offset, we're going to leave out the last 2 zeros. The last 2 zeros. Don't ask me why, I just know this is how it works, okay? So when I drop the last 2 zeros, I get 89E44, okay? But that's only 5 digits. So I'm going to come back here and add a 0 to the beginning of it. Let me walk you through that again. You're going to drop the last 2 zeros off your new valid offset, and you're going to add a 0 to the beginning of it. So mine is going to be 089E44. Let's come back over here to our game sound M file. Remember, this is what we just entered, the new size. We're going to skip 2 more zeros, start right here, and I'm going to enter my new offset, which again was 089E44. Yeah, 089E44. Now come up here to File and hit Save. Guess what? You did it. We're done. We did it. You finished. You've edited the sound file in the game. All we have to do now is put the game sound m.pack file back into the game, and we're good to go. Now, before you do that, first close out Hex Workshop. Anytime you've been working on a file, always close out the program that you've had it in before you try to transfer that. So I close that. I can go ahead and close these things too. This is edited now. All we have to do is put it back into the game. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to drag it. It's going to say, hey, do you want to replace this? And I'm going to say, you bet. It's going to take a minute or two because, again, it's 1 gig in size. So we'll come back when it's done. Okay, my sound file is back in the game, so let's fire it up and check it out.
And approaching the ring from El Paso, Texas, weighing 228 pounds,
Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
Here we go!
And there it is. Instead of Eddie Guerrero, he's now called Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. It worked. Check that out. That's awesome. Okay, now obviously I'm going to finish this out by inserting my Paul Orndorff mod in there and changing his entrance and all those things and his name, but now his call name is correct. So I just wanted to thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has helped you out. If you have been looking to mod the audio in WWE2K14, I hope that now you feel confident enough to tackle that with the right tools and the know-how. If you have questions or comments, please drop them below. I am by no means an expert in modding, but if I can help you in some way, I'm really happy to try. I've had plenty of people help me along the way, so I'm happy to share that knowledge with others. This is DJ7 saying peace. God bless.